So it's LS cam swap time, and we've got a load of parts from Billy's Speed Shop. Downside is that we asked for all the tools and we didn't get any of the tools apart from one tool that we're not going to be using and can't use because it's in the car. So we'll strip it all down. We've got springs to do and cam to do, rods by the looks of it, trunnion bearings and maybe something else. Hopefully we've got enough gaskets to cover it all off, but I'll get it all stripped down first and then hopefully we'll work our way through it. So you saw the coil packs come off, and I've got the water pump off now, so you can see the front cover, obviously the cam behind there with the chain. So I've just got to get the pulley off, and we've got new gaskets for this, so that's all good. Right, managed to get the crank pulley off, thanks to NWJ Auto Care for the tools to do that. And I'll take the front cover off now, and then we'll see what the rest of the job's inside. Don't want to take the rocker covers off just yet until we get the tool to actually hold the springs down. Hopefully that will be coming in the next day or so. Got the timing cover off the front. I've just put them bits of towel in there to take the drips away so they don't run down and go in the sump unnecessarily. And then I've got a little rag in each corner just to make sure that there's no crap that gets in there. So I'm going to get the plugs out now so it's easy to turn over, and then I'll get it round to top dead centre number 1. And then just make sure all the lines mark up on the front pulleys. There is a small dot just there, and there's apparently one on the bottom which I can't currently see, and I'm not taking the pump off, but it will be down there. Plugs are out. Now all of them look pretty good. The only one, let me just show you that. The only one that actually looks bad, see, they all look pretty good. Actually looks like it's running quite nicely. Number 3. Looks a bit like that. Which doesn't look too bad, but it looks like it's either running slightly richer or got some oil. I mean, we've got new injectors going in, but maybe I'll test these injectors when they come out as well. But that is the only one. All the rest of them look quite nice. So yeah, just number 3. So that would be 1, 2, 3. So what we'll probably do is put a bore scope down that cylinder and just see if we can see the top of the piston, make sure everything looks all right. But obviously we'll take the rocker covers off now. Just check everything inside. Looks nice, healthy and clean. Quite surprised actually. Even this side, which is from every video that I've watched, which is about 3. This is the dirtiest side and it still looks pretty good. Obviously there's a bit of surface rust over most bits, but actually looks pretty nice. We're going to be changing the rocker bearings, or I think they're called trunnions, something like that, trunnion bearings, but we're going to be changing them as well. But we'll get the rocker rails off now, all the rockers, including the rail, should I say. We'll get that off now. Alright, loosened off. You just pick up the rail from underneath. The easiest, one of them's still on. Easiest motor to work on ever, probably. I mean, just take them all off. Cam's in the block. Amazing. I think where it's sat a while, that everything has got a light coating of rust on it. Even the rods are rusty. We've got new rods, new valve springs, but double valve springs. Assuming they're going to sit on the same place and we don't have to replace the valve guide seal or the base that it sits on, depending on how they come apart. not an LS specialist by any means, and never taken one apart. So yeah, hopefully we'll have no issues. We're waiting for the tool that basically bolts into there, has like a G-clamp head on it, and then winds down the springs. We've got to wind each cylinder up to top dead center as we do them, and then hopefully fill them with air, or like compressed air through a line through the spark plug to hold the valves up. Compress each one, and then swap over the springs. I'm sure that won't have any issues. So we've got to swap out all the there's needle roller bearings in there, so all the roller bearings in there with these new trunnions and bearings. So they're just a brass bearing by the looks of it. Split as well. Oh, there's no knurling inside or anything. No, okay. Okay, there's no oil feed on that. I just take it, it's just blown around. Beautiful. We got the tool, and that's the tool that goes in the vise to press each of the roller bearings out. I'll swap them over now and then move on to the next thing. Rocker tool or trunnion tool in the vise. Actually enough power in that magnet on this side to hold that and the rocker in place, and then you just line that up with the end. And I'm assuming you just wind it in and push the two pressed bearings through the system, and then we'll see what we do with the other set. Wound the vise up and just popped it through. So I'm assuming I take this die out, and you can see how much magnetized power there is in that. So I'm assuming if I take that die out, and then I'll be able to take the whole, yeah, I will be able to take the whole lot out. And that fell apart in my bloody hand. But you can see all the needle rollers there. And apparently when these fail, obviously those needle rollers can be found all over the shop. So that is why we're going over to brass and new trunnions, if that's what they're called. But there's the empty case there. And it looks like the other ones actually use snap clips, like your standard C clips, to hold them in. So we'll see if the brass bushes go in without a problem. Okay, so they are pressing, and your little gold ring sits on that part there, and then presses back in using the same tool, but not quite sure how to do that yet. But we'll have a little play and then work it out. Alright, so we've got to press one bearing in one side, then throw the trunnion in the middle, and then press the other bearing in. Now it says in the instructions, press the bearing in with the writing on the outside. So the writing's on the outside when you press the bearing in. So it's obviously really important to have that writing on the outside. Super. Yeah. Yeah, cool. Oh, that presses in a lot easier than it looks. Till it's flush. I'd say that's flush. That looks good. Yeah. Now I'm gonna undo it, and it's all gonna stay there because that magnet is that strong. That's pretty cool. Now it may not hold the weight when I put the trunnion in, but the trunnion's gonna go in, and I'm trying to wear gloves to do this so we don't put any acids on the materials. Oh, it does hold it, look at that. Oh, it's not that strong. And then put the tool on the other end and press in the bearing, but what I'm actually going to do is put some assembly lube inside there first, so it's got something to run on for a while, because I don't really see how much oil is going to get in there for a while. So I'll grab some assembly lube and I'll just lube each one of these up as they go together. There's even a V8 on the front. Yeah, just throw some of this red engine lube. It's quite a good cam lube actually, but yeah, just a bit of red lube to go in there. Alright, you can see my red lube, and I actually don't think you need to put that on. Pretty 100% sure you don't, but it just winds in so easily anyway. Doesn't really matter too much, and we'll just make that flush again. And then I think A little bit more. Oh no, it's going to fall off, isn't it? Oh. And oh, that's all it. So trunnion rotates, no problem. And then you just got the 2 snap rings on the end. So I am going to do the rest of these beautiful things. So come around the front, I've just undone the 3 bolts on the front, and I've previously aligned them. And you can see that there's a little dot there, and hopefully with some manipulation you'll be able to see the dot maybe on the lower crank pulley sprocket as well. So they're lined up, that means top dead center. Take the 3 bolts out and then we'll expose what's behind. Alright, so that's what's behind. Obviously the cam sprocket is doweled, and then we'll get these 4 bolts off, and then we'll expose the 2 holes for the rods to go in to hold the hydraulic lifters up. And there's the 2 holes either side which you put the 7/16 rods through to hold the hydraulic lifters. I've had to pull the AccuSump out of the way to get in line so I can actually put these rods in, but there they are there. Should be roughly 7/16 or something like that apparently. I've just had a push of one, and yeah, it looks really tight. I'm spinning the camshaft to try and lift the lifter up, and then pushing it in, but you can see where when they've been used previously there's quite a few marks over them, so obviously they are quite tight. It does concern me that it's going to pull some material off the alley bars, but we will see. This is they've sent us a tool to hold down the valve springs, and this is it here. It's fucking useless to start with. The fact that we're taking off single springs and putting on doubles, how are we supposed to crush the doubles down with this piece of crap? It is literally the shittest tool, and this was the recommended tool from him. We'll just fly past all that, and we'll actually just make a tool to hold these springs down. We'll probably have to just do one at a time. We'll see what sort of tool design I come up with, but it's just such a letdown. So we're going to make a tool, and it's basically going to most likely bolt between these 2 holes here, and then have a shape that comes out and goes back in, and then I'll thread this section and then make a plate that bolts up and pulls down. If you don't understand, we'll go through it in a minute. But so we just need to measure these hole centers, and I'll probably make it out of something nice and thick, and we'll have to have standoffs, so we'll probably put some nuts to space it out, clamp it down, it will run over the top, probably sit on that bit. In fact, I could even bolt to that as well. Might stiffen it up a bit, and then we'll have a threaded section that goes in the middle, and then you can pull these down directly towards the valves themselves or in line with the valves. Okay, tool time. So they're the measurements taken off that point. So you can see it's going to bolt through the top 2 where the normal rockers go through, and then it's going to bolt through the rocker cover as well, and then I'm going to have an open hole that's going to sit between the 2, and I'll probably weld a nut on the opposite side of that, and that will be what winds down the plate that runs across the 2 valve springs, and then that will pull through the nut. Ways of having plasma CNC. So that's all the boxes sorted, so the outer line will be the outside, and I'll just make all this work now. Basically going to be it. That's the bottom part anyway, and I'll have to put a fold in it, but we'll cut that out of potentially something thick like 5mm, maybe slightly thinner. See what we got, and then we'll see what happens. So I just put it in the sheet cam, set out the cutting profile parameters, loaded it into Mac, and there's already some 2mm on the table, so I'm going to do a test cut in 2mm, and hopefully that'll go really dandy well. Not. Alright, cut out and cleaned up. It looks like it could work, but numpty put the hole centers in the wrong place, and also I don't think there's enough material on the end there. But it seems everything else seems to line up alright, so I'm going to add some more material down here, put these holes in the correct place, and give it another go. Right, so this is the one that doesn't fit, but the spacing there seems pretty good as well. I can hold it over, but that spacing seems alright. Just those hole centers and a bit more material down here. So I've got it in there now. I've got two M10 nuts underneath just to space it away, because this is actually slightly higher, and I've also got rid of that hole. I don't think it's going to be used. The only issue now is its fitment in there is quite tight, so I might knock it down 1/2 mil when I cut it out of 5 mil, and then I'm going to put a support brace in through there. All I'm going to do now is actually bend this plate up slightly from here to match the length, the angle of these versus that. I don't know if you'll be able to see, but yeah, you can just see it's a slightly different angle. And this is hopefully the first and last version of the top plate that's going to compress the springs. So that in there, and then this is still quite hot. That straight over the top. The holes actually needed to probably go 1/2 mil towards each other. Just cut it out of 5 mil, as I didn't think the other one was going to be strong enough, and I couldn't be bothered to weld the nuts on there. So I've put the same bend profile in this bottom 5 mil plate, and I'll now weld on all the nuts. So I'll weld on the spacers on the end, and then the nut that's going to have the stud going through it. All I've done there is tack them on the back side. These two are obviously not stressed, and this one is slightly stressed, but that should easily be enough to hold that. We'll get it in place and see what she looks like. Right, there it is, all in one. So that's just a long bolt running through those two bits, and just enough space to get the collets out. Nothing really lines up that great, but nonetheless, it's certainly going to be good enough. So I'm going to actually get it on the other side now, and because that piston's at top dead center, and we'll give it an actual go. Turns out, I'm just getting set up, that's why you can hear the compressor, but turns out it comes with double valve springs, bottom shims, or are they top plates? They're the top plates or retainers. These are the bottom spacers, new valve guide seals, new collets. Yay! Alright, base of the tool on. We'll put the top part on. And we will see. I've got to turn the, so we're putting compressed air inside the cylinder. So you can hear that now going in to hold the valves up. I didn't put any lubricant on that. That's a mil, and let's see if this fails or works. Oh, win! Oh, mate. One pair of collets, two pairs of collets. Now, is there enough thread that it's not going to ping? Oh, look at that! Yeah, baby! Actually, I bet best keep them in order, actually. Just in case they are. Right, so valves are in. The problem is, I'm going to have to... Wow, they're really fucking in. That pressure is so crazy. I'm going to hold them up and release the pressure. Be because, oh, almost dropped that. Oh, okay, cool. They barely dropped. So that's now hitting the piston because it's at number 1. So really all I need to do is put air in there when we put them back on, which will be in a minute. So I've just got to pull these valve guide seals off, if I can find my tool, and then we'll take the bottom plates out. Lovely. Can't find my valve guide removal tool, so that's great. Obviously lent that fucker to someone. Alright, I had another look for the valve guide tool, but actually this does a pretty dandy fucking job. Okay-ish. Might just actually get a rag and clean off the top of them valve stems. And it's just a case of just giving them a reassuring tap. Now these double valve springs, they're like chrome, so I don't even know if you need to wear gloves or not. Bit weird looking. Also a bit bindy. There doesn't seem to be a top or a bottom, so that's fucking marvellous. Whoa. Might need a longer bolt for them bad boys. There's really no top, no bottom? No, okay. Definitely going to need 2 retainers. Air. Oh, you heard her shoot up then. The tool does work fine, people, it's fine. Yeah. It's now just how it's going to come off. Whether it's going to shove them in my face or not. Or whether it's going to load them up as it should. I don't believe it. See if it bent that tool up. Oh yeah! Oh no, maybe not. Oh, that's marvellous though. The springs are now much wider. So they don't look amazing when they're on there, but they are on there. Yeah, they're retaining fine, no problem. So I'll crack on and do the rest. So all new base washers, springs, valve guide, seals and retainers, and then new collets as well on all of them. And the other side all done, double valve springs on these. And there's all the removed parts there. Interestingly, that says 33. Now I've got 2 left over. 16 valves, 2 16s, 32. How can I have 2 left over? But there's also 32 there. I think they put 34 in the pack. Not fucking helpful, and that is why everything is counted out. There is definitely 2 collets in every one of them. Thank you, Americans. So I've got different rods to go in. These ones are actually 7/16 and they fit a little bit nicer. They go straight through. Hopefully they are 7/16, so hopefully they're going to go through and hold all the lifters up and not let them drop when I pull this camshaft out. Otherwise I may just cry. New cam, obviously I've just put a bit of graphite over it, and old cam, and I'm not going to be quickly changing them out because that looks like quite a worn bearing. But to take them out is basically a sump, crank, rods out job by the looks of it. So yeah, may just put that cam in for this round and then whip it out. We're just gonna have to check the rest with a bore scope. Right, I spoke to John and he said just go with it. So I've sent him the photo. It's basically going to be run, what, for, I mean, last time it went to Teesside, it ran for 6 minutes, or actually drifted for 6 whole minutes. Ran for a lot longer, obviously. So with that in account, we've got a Santa Pod test day coming up, and then the actual Teesside BDC event coming up. And assuming it doesn't die in between, then hopefully we will be there. So we're going to stick the cam in and we're going to run it as it is with some questionable bearing surfaces. The cams are sort of 300-400 quid, I think. And basically, speaking to John, it's a case of, even if it fucks the cam, like as in scratches the cam, obviously hopefully it won't destroy itself in any way, but even if it damages the cam, the cost of the event, even the booking any of the 2 events that we've got coming up is outweighed massively by that. He's already spent the money, so we've got to go and we've got no options. I've not seen anyone change them through the block with everything in place. It doesn't look like there's anywhere to get them out, and obviously how would you know that you've knocked it in, even with the tool that we've got? How would you know you've knocked it in far enough without being able to see it? So the front one's fine, but the other, what, 5 is there maybe? A minute, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, there's the other 4. We wouldn't know if they're placed in the right place. You'd have to tap it, take the tool out, check it, tap it, check the tool out. And how would you get them out? I'm knocking them away from me. Even if I pull them towards me, how would I get them out? I don't know. I've not seen anyone do it. Okay, here we go. I want to say that that's all good, but I have no clue. It went in quite nicely, so I assume the hydraulic lifters are all good. But we will just double check them. So, go get new rods. I have absolutely no idea about the rod lengths and stuff, but that's what they are. I think they're like maybe 5 thou longer. Oh, yeah, 5 thou longer. Even though it's hydraulic, apparently that does make a difference. Right, all the rods, push rods are in now. So the push rods are in, and we'll just extract these 7/16 rods, maybe, hopefully without an issue. Oh yeah, what a beauty. Don't really want to bend them. And the second one. Lovely job. Alright, so I'm now going to spin the camshaft, and hopefully we're going to fill the cam. Yeah, there we go. I don't know where. Oh yeah, she's a beaut. I don't know whether you can actually see that. We'll put them all down. Yeah, that all feels good. So maybe you can see, maybe you can't. Let's have a look. So hopefully we'll see some of the rods move up. Whether you'll actually see them or not is a different thing. Well, you must have saw that. Yeah, baby. So they seem all... I'm going to check every one and make sure that it's all running the way it should. Feels good. Yeah, no, everything feels good there. You just push it. I don't have a tendency to sit back up. So I've spun over the cam and put my fingers on basically all of them and just made sure that everything feels seated and nice and they're rotating or going up and down with the cam lobes. All feels good. So I'm going to clean off the places the rocker rail sit, and then we'll get the rockers on. We'll get the cam aligned first, get it top dead center, number one, and then yeah, we'll get the rockers on. I've now got on the cover plate for the camshaft and the camshaft sprocket. Haven't done up the bolts yet, just got the torque settings for them, and they're 26 pounds-foot. You can see the marks lining up, the mark on the crankshaft sprocket and the camshaft sprocket. Obviously the only chance really is one tooth out, as it's not a vernier pulley in any way, so it's definitely not one tooth out in each direction, that's for sure. So as you can see, I've also cleaned up the surfaces with some brake cleaner, and then I've gone over with a block and 1000 grit wet and dry sandpaper just to clean them off. You don't want to go over with too aggressive sandpaper, as you might score up the surface too much and then it won't seal against the rubber gaskets. But obviously you do want to remove as much of the corrosion as possible, and obviously old gasket materials, etc. Okay, so now that's done up to 26 pounds-foot, I'm going to put a little bit of oil over the chain, make sure that's good on first starting. I've cleaned up the bottom sump area, and we're going to have a look at fitting the front cover now. So we've got the new front cover seal to go on, which is handed. So that will sit in place. And then I've cleaned up the front cover and inserted the new crankshaft pulley seal. And hopefully this will all line up. I'll just test fit all this. Yeah, all looks pretty good. Some jiggery pokery to get everything lined up, but yeah, that looks okay. And we can't actually do this up fully, as it's got to be aligned with the crank pulley to make sure that we aren't slightly off center either one way or the other way and we have a leak. And as we don't have the tool, we will be fitting the crank pulley to align it. I am just going to put some sealant right down in little corners, or both corners, as the front cover seal will tuck into there, but obviously that isn't going to be a great seal unless there's some silicone in there to prevent any leakage. So we'll put that in first, then we'll place up the gasket and front cover. So I've got them all done up, kind of finger tight. I don't know if you'll be able to see, but there is definitely, you can move the front cover, no problem. So I'll pull the seal retainer, and it's just a shape retainer out. And what I'm actually going to do is warm up the crankshaft pulley. Alright, so it's a harmonic damper, and you've got the rubber around the outside which takes up harmonics inside the engine when it's running. So what we're going to do is we're going to heat up this surface just around here, not hot, just so it's say 50-60 degrees, something like that, which is easily, you know, everything's capable of taking that temperature, even that rubber band that runs around there, because the engine gets to way over that. But that should just help us push that onto that nose of that crank pulley. So to just prove obviously that it's not that hot, you've got 30-40 degrees out here, and then we've got about 60, 75 Obviously shiny surface, but basically about 60 degrees, let's say, which is obviously cold enough that it's not going to melt the seal. It should just allow us to get that on a little bit easier, being slightly larger. All we're using is a stud. Wind that deep into the nose of the crank, right in onto the crank, and I'll just turn it out one turn. And we can wind that on and hopefully pull up the crank pulley a little bit easier. Well, that's the crank pulley on, not actually bolted up yet, but that went on super easy. So now, hopefully that's going to be fairly aligned. There's still a fair amount of movement on it, so that really do need the tool. But there you go. Yeah, I'd be much happier with the tool actually aligning that correctly, as there's still a fair chunk of movement there. But we got what we got. Good old Billy's Speed Shop sending out all the tools we need, which was basically none. Hopefully this won't have any issues. I'll buzz it up and we'll just have to accept what happens pretty much, because there's nothing we can do without a decent tool. Potentially I could have lined it up with some calipers, but it's done now. It's only got to survive 2 events, and then it can all come back apart. Yay. Just going to run round and evenly nip these bit by bit, because it's got to pull down to the sump as well as bolt up to the face. And we'll limit the amount of chance of holding it off the sump at all. Well, I'm happy with that. I'll go around and do a final nip. I'll just check the torque settings for the front cover, and we'll see what they're at. So 18 pounds-foot torque, which is pretty minimal. Right, water pump on. This is going to sure be very tricky. So water pump pulley bolts, £11 for the first pass and 22 I think for the second pass. Right, that's the important ones across there, so I'm just going to build up. Obviously we have got a brand new ARP crank pulley bolt, assuming that fits, but we've also got a brand new stock one as well, as they are stretch bolts. Now that the water pipes are all back on and the water pump's back on and the coolant system is sealed, I'm actually going to start to fill it up with coolant so it can try and self-bleed, because this system is a pain in the arse even with these extra bleeds and things. So we'll just get cracking with that as well. So a brand new ARP crank pulley bolt, it's reusable. We're going to put molly grease on the bottom to make sure that it doesn't bind when it goes through. Obviously supplied molly grease, and it's 235 pounds-foot torque. The piston must be the perfect shape for this tool to work, because I have no idea how it does, as it's going in at such an angle, but it does. And there's top dead center, and there was your dwell. Obviously doesn't look straight to you, but looks perfect from the bottom. So I've got the rockers on, just nipped up, not actually torqued up. And I've just gone online and found the torque tightening sequence basically. Obviously cylinder numbers there, and then we're going to do the inlets. This is all at top dead center. We're going to do those inlets, those exhausts, or the other way around, and then we're going to turn it 360 and do those exhaust and inlets. That's so obviously the pressure isn't on the rocker when you actually do it up, so your torque settings could be slightly off, I guess. So here we go, exhaust on number 1. As with everything, it's come down to the wire. We're just having the car wrapped. I've got some of the work finished off, so it's got core packs, plugs, everything's back together as it should be roughly. So we're just going to try and start it in a bit and see how that goes. Just getting it set up on the laptop so we can monitor the first start and see what's actually happening. But there's the cam specs if anyone's interested. 280 and 292, obviously that's advertised. Really 231 and 242. So I've got the PC loaded up. We had a couple of faults on there because we've had the ignition on and off, but that's no issues. So I'll jump in now and we'll try and crank it over and we'll see what the AFRs do and see if it starts to start with. Still the stock injectors. We're actually getting the injectors I think later today, and we're obviously leaving tonight, so that should be good. We'll try and crank her over, see if she actually starts. Release the AccuSump first, get rid of some of the oil pressure, get some oil into the car. Okay, so this is the previous map with the base position for the idle control valve. And basically this came from the stock base map that we were given along with the ECU for an LS1. And I've just gone to adjust it because obviously we need to bypass a lot more air and things to bring up the idle speed. And this is all completely wrong. I just read the manual because I started to adjust it and I was like, well, this doesn't make any sense. So read the manual, and this is all set up completely wrong. The lower the number, the more bypass. So 0 would be idle control valve fully open, bypassing as much air as possible, where this is set up in basically the opposite way around. So we're going to basically bin this off for the minute, and we're going to write a new one. So there is the new one, and as you can see, I mean, I don't know how accurate this is going to be. I've just busted in some numbers, but I'd imagine it's quite far off. We may have to change the max and min clamp on the actual thing itself, but basically it's 0 to 200 at the minute. And this is obviously the lower the number. Wow, it's touchscreen, I did not know that. The lower the number, the more open the idle control valve is. So hopefully we're going to be able to start it now, and it's going to do what we want it to do. And you can see there that I've reversed the stepper motor direction, because obviously it was running in the opposite direction to what it should do. Increasing this number will result in decreased idle speed. So we've now set it up correctly, so we'll give it a crank and see what happens. Okay, so I'm checking that the rods aren't holding over on the valves to keep them open. I'm only pulling 50 kPa of vacuum, or 5 point something PSI. Which sounds a lot for what's supposed to be a fairly mild cam. So just wanted to check, so I'm just going to basically crack off this rocker. I've just turned it over. There's no pressure on it, but I'm just going to crack off the rocker just to check 100% to make sure that I'm not going crazy. I just didn't think it was going to be that a big a cam. Yep, turns out that that's absolutely fine. Everything's good, so it just pulls that much vacuum. I was just expecting it to be more mild, I guess. So we'll get back on it. I'll throw all this bits back on, and yeah. Well, I've got it idling. It idles okay, if not a little rough, but until we can get it out on the track, I'm certainly not going to start tuning it here. And obviously we're leaving in a couple of hours, so yeah. All good fun, but the wrap looks pretty cool. If there's any positive points for the day. It's 4:15. I'm just waiting for Smithy to arrive now. Hopefully it shouldn't be too long, and I'm going to start to get everything ready and packed up. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos, subscribe, hit that bell and get the notifications. You can also check us out on Facebook. The link's going to be in the description. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.